some above shape, even shit, like the California, or especially to say, to be Mahanos with Oily Yomtiv. Today's share is sponsored by Reuven Wolf, Little Nishmas' father, Shmuel Ben Reuven, especially.
I always found out that the real simple is Yom Tov, when you learn the blue shilas, you try to find in the Torah that's eternal, the Nitzchis of Torah, that Torah has the answer to all the shilas. And I always find that when we share with you with the Olam, shilas that we heard people ask, so people are asking, that means these are the negeya, and we have to try to find the answers. Over Yom Tov, especially we have a 3-day Yom Tov, we heard a shilah where the timer that people use, Shabbos and Yom Tov, was off. They didn't set it right, and the kids is going to go on when it's supposed to be off, and go off when it's supposed to be on. So they want to know if they can turn the knob, the dial, to align it properly, so then it'll go on when it's supposed to, and go off when it's supposed to. So besides the muktzah issue, is there a problem in doing that? Because they're goyim that it goes on earlier, goes off earlier, or maybe grandma on Yom Tov might be mutter. That was one question. Of course, the question, somebody asked me, he bought an urn, and he wanted to fill it up on Yom Tov to have water for the next day, or for Shabbos, whatever it is. Of course, you have to do it that day. And he said it's a Yom Tov mode. So what does that mean, Yom Tov mode? Is that Yom Tov mode, or matir, whatever the issue might be? And then, of course, we had a shayla, which is really the whole year, but now it's much more common that people walk innocently and they put a light on. I know when I walk home from the yeshiva where I daven, so I put on 2 lights whenever I walk, so one block, another block. Is that a problem? Is that a mekel? In the yeshiva where I give a shir, they punked one of the diras that the baruchim sleep in. It's come out, no way to get to their home, their dira, without passing one of these motion detectors that puts on a light. So as we always see, the nitzchis of Torah, everything is there. But the nikud of the shaila, which is really because of the technology that's so advanced, how do you touch up malacha? You see, our Zayd is new. You put a pot on the fire, that's bishul. And every malacha was defined. Today it's almost a get of tzaddik ma'pal. I'm walking in the street, the light goes on, or these type of shilas that a person is doing nothing. We had a shilah when someone went for Shabbos to kind of came here to Lakewood from Brooklyn, and the people said, "Do what you want. The house is yours." Came Shabbos, he had a shilah. He wanted to open the refrigerator, take out food, milk, whatever for the next morning, and then he thought, wait a second, this refrigerator presumably has a light bulb in it. Now, during the week, you open the refrigerator, and the light bulb goes on, nothing wrong. But Shabbos, you can't open it when the light bulb goes on. You have to disable it before Shabbos. These people, did they have in mind to disable it when they left? They left the house Thursday. I mean, they're nice people, but did they do that? I'm opening the fridge, I put a light on. So here you have an innocent person who's opening a refrigerator, and he puts a light on. How do you look at that? If it's a suffix. So how do you touch up malacha in a society that so many things happen by themselves? Someone told me we went to a hotel. There's really a pachad. And it's climate control. What does climate control mean? It's not as good as it sounds. Basically, the hotels want to save money. And why should they run the heat during the winter or air conditioning during the summer straight? So what they do is they give you a climate control feature, but it's really for their benefit, that everything goes off when there's nobody in the room. And of course it senses when the person leaves. When you open the door, you put on the heat and put on the air conditioning. And good thing he wasn't there for Shabbos, otherwise what would you do? You open the door, the air conditioning goes on, the heating goes on. He's not machavin, but it's happening. So we are familiar with the Gemara in Shabbos that Kufchav, which is a good start. Ner shachari hadelas, pesach v'nol kedarkoi, im kafsa kafsa. This is a typical sukkah shayla. You want to come into the sukkah, you want to get a mitzvah yeshiva sukkah, you open the door, but maybe you're going to blow out the candles. So, chayritz mutter, you're not mechav, forget, you don't want to burn out the candles. So the Rav gave him a curse. Why? Because of psikration. What does it mean, psikration? Pashit. You open the door, the wind's going to blow out the candle. You're not mechavin, so don't do it. But opening the door is blowing out the candle. Okay, the Gemara is lashon, the Shulchan Aruch, the Reish Ayin Zayin, Aleph use the lashon. Shema yechaben ruach. We'll soon see what that means. Shema, but there's a concept of psik reisha, and the havana is that when you open the door, you're blowing out the candle because it's going to happen. There's a lick in the ma'isa. Opening the door is blowing out the candle. Then we have the Gemara, but this Gemara gives us a new flavor to the sugya. Zok the Gemara, and in those days, this is in Shabbos Kuf Zayin. In those days, they lived in basically the outdoors, and there were animals roaming around. A person comes on Friday night, and he has a very pleasant surprise. There's a deer, a live deer in his house. So he's not scared of the deer, but if he closes the door, he's going to trap the deer. Now, a deer is a very expensive and a very fancy animal. Maybe he should trap the animal and keep it for Sunday. Can he close the door in his house, push it to keep the cold out? But he's trapping a deer. Zok the Gemara, Avada, you're not allowed to do that. Comes again the Rashba, and the Rashba is in Kuf Zayin Taka, and the Rashba said, based on Yishalmi, it depends why you close the door. If you're closing the door because you want to trap the deer, then it's us. If you're closing the door just to keep the cold out, but the Rashba's mutter. Frag the Ran, Dvorav Tmuam be'enai harbe. I don't understand the Rashba. Wie kommt zu Azazach from the Rashba? Because what's different your kavana? If you're closing the door and you're trapping the deer, it's vada yasa. What's the chiluk in kavana? So we have to get back to that, but this is a big issue today. But we see another case, like the Ran, and that's the way the Magen Avraham paskins. Rashba is the Rashba, but we can't pass like the Rashba. If you close the door and trap the deer, it's a psik reisha. If you're not mechaber, it's a psik reisha nichalei. What's the chiluk? That's probably nichalei rather. Why not? So here we see simple acts of heta are not mutter. I'm closing the door to my house. I'm opening the door to my sukkah. But Rabbi, you have to live in a world of reality. You can't live in denial. Opening the door, you're blowing out the candle. Closing the door, you're trapping the deer. So licking the mice and you're trapping. So licking the mice, you're putting out the candle. That's why it's dvarim pshutim, that today, anything that happens, quote, automatically, there's nothing happens automatically. As early as the Beis Yitzchak Levavarov, this was written well over 100 years ago, in Yeridei Chelik Beis Simon Lamed in the Mafteichos, the Levavarov, one of the Gedolim of his time, he was one of the first that discussed electricity. He writes, I heard that they're in Vienna, they're building fancy homes, that when you open the door, the light goes on. And when you close the door, the light goes off. So, Zok the Beis Yitzchak, it's also to go into that room, because when you open the door, that's Havara Deraisa, and closing is Kibud Deraisa. Okay, it's a little bit kasha, why is Kibud Deraisa, it's Yochagufa, but let's talk about he says opening the door. What's Pshat? You're not doing a Maisa Heta. You're opening the door to that puts on a light. That's the switch. Technology in those days was advanced enough. You open the door, you put on a switch. So you're putting on the light. Now, but I should add, which is pashut, it's not a groma. Groma means I do a Maisa Heta, and eventually it doesn't issa. For example, the case of the Gemara, the Mishnah actually in Shabbos Kuf Chav, there's a fire burning down a path, and it's going to get to my garage and burn down my garage. Now, there's no pikuach nefesh leval, but there's a hefsed moment, so I can't put out the fire. What I could do is get a bunch of barrels of water, put it a distance away from the fire, so the heat of the fire, when it gets there, will burst the barrels, the water will gush out, and put out the fire. Why is that mutter? Why is that mutter min ha-Torah? So if the Gemara, that's grama. Like sasim malacha, asiyah do'asa, grama is mutter. Now, what makes that a grama? Very pashut. Putting down a barrel of water is not a ma'aseh kibud. There's no fire there. But in our case, this is the switch. Opening the door is the switch. And that's why, much later than the Rav, but Achiezer Chel Gimel Siman Samach, in a very crucial tshuva, when people thought electricity is a grama, so maybe grama is mutter. I heard from an Adam Chashem Ma'oid. He grew up on the east side in the early 1900s. that even the frummer women put on lights on Yom Tov. They held, of course incorrectly so, that lights is a grumma. And Hamoed addresses this problem in that hallmark tshuva, and he says that putting on a light is not a grumma, it's a ma'aseh b'yadayim. I'm just putting on a switch. I don't know anything about electricity. So Hamoed proves correctly that you're connecting a current. It's a bit kudamai, whatever the sugi is. But the point that he does make is there are some malachas min ha-Torah, some lamates malachas that seem to be only grumma. Zoyra, throwing in the wind, Zoyreya, maybe even Bishul. But it's up to famous Rosh, and that sugi of Masechta Bava Kama. If that's the derech hamalacha b'kach, it's not a grumma. Grumma is when you do a sort of a relayed reaction. But this is the switch. So Hamoed was very much the yisoid of electricity. And I once saw this is our Meltzer gives an askama to a sefer, and he says the sefer is very good, but I was makabel from Hamoed not to write about electricity, because if you write about it, that means it's a shayla, and there's no shayla. He held it's the Raisa, that's why he made Havdalah on a electric bulb, even though they're mafakrikin. But the point is that a switch is not a grumma. A switch is a bit k'damaya, is a koichai, and a malach deraisa. So that's one yisod. Now let's talk about a opening a refrigerator and the light goes on. So here, l'chayra, this is a problem, the same problem, psikration. You're opening the door and you're putting on the light. And we know Sugya Psikresha is in 11 places in Shas. Sukkah, Daflam Gimel, on the side has all the Marmakaimis. But Rashi throws in a Loshin, Psikresha is also Kimachaben Choshavle. What does that mean? Very pashit. The best example is another Sukkah's mashal. Someone has a small backyard and he has a Sukkah there and he wants to wash his hands for the Suda. Wants to become mitzvah the Rabbanan. And he's washing over the grass. So you say, Rabbi, do you know how to do that on Shabbos or Yom? Do you know how to water the grass? I'm not watering the grass. I'm doing a mitzvah until Shadayim. But it's going on the grass. But I'm a mechaben. So this is a classic psikresh. It's a mechaben shulchan aruch. But the Havan is beautiful. Pouring water on grass is a malacha. That's a nice malacha. You don't want to water the grass? I have a good idea. Go into the house and wash in the sink. But you can't wash over the grass and say, I'm not watering the grass. That's pshat ki mechaven choshev lei, even though you're not mechaven, but you know what's going to happen. So the ma'isa. So it's not pshat that the Stu felt like, I don't know what happened, the grass is growing. No. You watered the grass. So this is a ma'isa b'yodayim. In fact, this is a deraisa. Why is it a deraisa? Pasha, you can't live in a dream world, you have to be realistic. Watering the grass is watering the grass. So that's the concept of psikration. Opening a refrigerator, when you know the light will go on, Moshe says it's a psikration. And therefore, brother, he's matir. We had the shayla over Yom Tov, when someone forgot to disable the light of the refrigerator and opening will put on the light. And Moshe says you call the guy, or you should tell him to open the refrigerator. If for a yid is a malach deraisa opening the refrigerator, why is it mutzah to tell a guy to do it? So Moshe says in the famous Ramah in Reish Nun Gimel that says that psikration by a guy is mutter. Now the svara is not for now. Moshe says telling the guy open the refrigerator. Ma'aseh heck, the light goes on. That's psikration. Psikration by Yakov is mutter. Shlomo Zalman in 3 places takes exception, and he says I don't understand. It's not a psikration. It's a ma'aseh b'yadayim. Opening the fridge, there is no manual switch to put on the light. So open the refrigerator is the ma'aseh b'yadayim. And therefore he doesn't understand why he's the mutar Yaakov. Al Yaakov is mutar psikration. Lemashal, you could say, let's say there's another sukkah's mashal, if it rained, but this year it didn't rain, but let's say it rains, it's a big accumulation of water on the shlak, and you want to open the shlak because it stopped raining, but with the water to go onto the grass. So then you can tell the guy, open the shlak, because that's just a psikration. But in the case of the refrigerator, that's putting on the light.
But he doesn't want to put on the light, that's why it's a psikration.
No. Ma'aseh b'yadayim, both are psikration and ichlei, but it's also malacha. But this is a ma'aseh malacha. If you put on a light for a different reason.
You opened the door and the switch went on.
If you put on a light and you don't want to put it on, just put it for the fun of it. No, this is the switch of Shlomo Zalman holds. So that's why Lamaisa, Psik Reisha is sometimes misunderstood. Psik Reisha is come out like a Malach D'Oraisa. The only chiluk is between a Psik Reisha and a Maisa B'Yadayim would be if it's Mutta Aidi Akamonat. Now, consider the next question, which is today unavoidable mamish. And that is, what about walking into a room almost any time of the year? Unless you're in this weather now that there's no air conditioning or heating, but walking into a room, there's a thermostat. Whether it's during the winter that will put on the heat, during the summer the air conditioner, but every action is a reaction. So here the question is, why is it mutter to walk into a room at any time? There's no doubt about it. When you open the door, either you allow cold air during the winter or warm air during the summer, and it's definitely going to affect the thermostat. So why is that mutter? So this could be grama, but we'll probably do better than that. And that is basically the famous machloek by Davar Shein Maskar. The case the Gemara gives, the Goyres Asaf, you're schlepping a bench. If it's not a Psik Reisha, it's a Davar Shein Maskar. That we all know. But what's the Havana of it? Because pulling a bench is not a Maisa of making a Charitz. So lik nisht in the Maisa, when you pull a bench, you make a Charitz. If it's a heavy bench and it's soft earth, das yet. But typically, it's not a Psik Reisha because it's lik nisht in the Maisa. And we paskin like Rab Shimon, Davar Shein Mischaven is mutter. So forget about grammar. This is more Davar Shein Mischaven. But the Lam Nulei asked, I don't get it. It might happen. You don't know for sure. So why don't you treat like a Safek Deraisa? A piece of meat that you have that is maybe also probably mutter. You eat it? Chas v'shalom. Safek Deraisa. So why is Davar Shein Mischaven mutter? The teretz is Maleches Machsheves. And if the lik nisht in the Maisa, you're not doing a Maisa Issa. So we always say, Davar Shein Mischaven, which is a suffix, is a het gomer. We pass like Rab Shimon. So the chiluk is Psik Reisha, whatever case of Psik Reisha you want, it's valid going to happen. Davar Shein Mischaven is a suffix. An unpredictable suffix, as we'll soon see. So there, so this is the Maisa. So the fact that it happens, even if it does happen, you don't have to have nervin because the Chazal will make it. Now, it can't be a grama because you're schlepping the bench. It's a mice be a day. The real heta is the fact that it's an ein mischaven. So Lamaisa, here is the next question, which is very much negated to this and other questions as well. And let's go back to the Shabbat I began with. You went away for Shabbos and they gave you the Areish Chol, the house is yours. The refrigerator, you don't know if the light was disabled, if they pressed the button, whatever they did, the Shabbos mode, whatever it is, you're not sure. So one thing you know for sure, I'm opening the door, either I'm doing malacha, Psik Reisha, Maisa B'Yadayim Reb Shlomo Zalman, or if he was a Chacham Ein B'Roisha, he disabled the light. Am I allowed to open the door? So it's Vadei, not a Vadei. So what do you call that? Situation. And it's Chav, right? Okay, so they're good. Baruch Shekivan to L'chayim.
Psik Reisha or Safek Maisa.
Okay, good. So what's the halacha in this case?
Every Psik Reisha is a Maisa. When did the Psik Reisha stop being a Maisa?
You're right. But you don't know. Maybe the light was disabled before Shabbos. Good. Wait. Okay, good. So here's the question.
It's not opening the light.
Lamaisa, you know exactly that if the light was not disabled, it's going to go on. So this is the Taz. The Taz is in Chaim, obviously, in Shin Tezayin. The Taz talks about the following case, where Shin Tezayin Sif got involved, actually, is the Taz is. You have a small garbage can, okay? And it's so small that if you have a fly and you close the garbage because you want to keep the fly out of the house, that's considered Seder. Because it's small enough of an area that once you confine it to that small garbage, it's not nitzud v'oimet. Zok the Taz, so anytime you want to close the garbage, why is it mutter to close the garbage? Maybe there's a fly punkt there, and you're trapping the fly. So it's an ein l'nicha, it's not hazoi. But Zok the Taz, that's that's a toys in Havana. Because the Maisa, this is a Davar Shein Mischaven. It's not a Vadai like you said, and you're not mechaven to it, so there's no case of grama. Grama, you want to at least mechaven for something. So Zok the Taz, this case is perfectly mutter. Why? Because Lamais, you don't know what's doing there. Now, if you see a fly flying around and you slam the garbage cover to keep it in, that's the Lamais that say it. But here you don't know. So it's not a psikresha, it's a Mishchav. Okay, very good, sounds great. L'chayra, according to that, our refrigerator is also mutter. Because you don't know. If it's my own house, I know for sure I didn't disable it. But this house, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have it, maybe he disabled it. It's a good enough chance. I want to make a point. I told you earlier, the case of the Ner is Asa, and Mechaber says, Shema Yechabenu Ruach. So, Frek the Marsha, what do you mean Shema? Once you throw in the word Shema, it's integration. And what happens then? Ein Mechaber. So, what do you mean Shema? So, up the Marsha, the advice to is that even Karvel Psikration is also Psikration. And it's not the only one that says this, other places can say this, Bialacha quotes it. But in our case, not even a Karvel Psikration. You have enough statistical chance either he disabled it or he didn't have it. So the Chayra, our refrigerator, is really rooted in the Taz. But the Taz is not the final word. Kive'eg is in Yoredei in a totally different context, in Simon Peizai and Sivov on the Ramah. And there, something that we don't even relate to anymore, but it's extremely negay of our Shayra. You know, we think about heat as a heater, right, or as a steam system. We think about cooking as a stovetop, an oven. In the olden days, it was almost hainuhach. They had a fireplace, that there was a fire burning, and that gave off heat. And you wanted to warm a food or cook a food, you put it into the fireplace. So agav chadatarti. So there, the Ramah is talking about someone is staying in an inn, a hotel, whatever you want to call it, and the fireplace is burning nicely. And he wants to have a hot soup. So why not put it in the fireplace during the week? It's not Shabbos, Chas v'Shalom. So he puts the cold soup in it and he has a hot soup. Now the problem is he wants to get the fire a little more levendic. He wants to stoke it to make the Shem. He wants to mechat it so the fire will burn nicer. Now, what's wrong? It's during the week. It's Tuesday night. But here the problem is that maybe a guy is cooking bas b'chalav in the same time. You're not the only one that wants to have hot food. Maybe the guy's bas b'chalav is in the oven at the same time, and by stoking it, it's going to be a ma'aser bishul. Or you're not eating it, but we know there are 3 surei Torah: bishul, bas b'chalav, and isa d'oraisa. Even if you don't eat it. So kiveiga, it's only a suffix. So kiveiga, this is a sveika d'oraisa, and sveika d'oraisa l'chumra. The loy kitaz in Arachayim. Now, what's the Havana? It's only a suffix. So Havana is Gor Pashit. When I schlep a bench on earth, and I'm really, it's no one knows. So there the suffix is not, you don't know the factual information. You don't know your inability to predict the future, because no one knows. Unless you're a real good scientist, you can't figure out how heavy the bench is versus how soft the earth is. So it's a suffix in the mitzias of the nifal. What's the result of my action? That is a davar she'ein mischab. But here, one thing you know: if there's a bas b'chalav in the oven right now, so stoking it is vadei bishul bas b'chalav d'oraisa. You don't know the mitzias, so how does he jump into a mitzias that you don't know the mitzias?
But the Taz is talking about
Wait. Good. Zok kibe'ega, if the suffix is in the echos hanifal, what's going to result, and you don't know that, that's okay. But in the mitzias of the Pa'ula, you don't know the fact if there's bas b'chalav or not, that's suffix d'oraisa. So it's either lack of factual information about the mitzias, and that's suffix d'oraisa, or the inability to predict the future, and that's takamut. Now I learned this by Rapam Yeridea, and I asked, like you said, I said, but I don't understand. The Taz is right; it's still a suffix. He told me Azoi. He said, Rabbi Kiva Ega is Gor Pashit. Ich verstehe nicht the Taz. I said, okay, now we can talk. Once you have both sides.
It's not Melach's Shabbos.
Okay, good. Some say that.
Things.
Wait, good. But the Yisoid HaDover is Pashtis, every suffix should be a suffix deraisa. The only tati mekel is, like you said, because it's linked in the Maisa. Now, some say that, the Malamad Lahoyel, and the Ibn Cheshloima quotes others that say this, that maybe Taka the Taz only mekel on Shabbos because Maleches Machsheves. And since Lamaisa is felt Maleches Machsheves, maybe that's why he was mekel. But in Basli B'chalav, they're together of Safek Derais. But our shaila of opening a refrigerator when you don't know the Metzias, again, using your own house you do, but it could even happen in your own house. You're not sure if the refrigerator will put on the light. So b'tzad echad, it's minimally a psik reisha, maybe even a ma'isi b'yadayim, but the fact that you don't know the Metzias, so in a Shabbos we have a taz that's mekel, and many places here, we mach even on Shabbos, whatever the svara is, but the ma'isa, select yen the ma'isa, that opening the fridge, if the light is on, we'll put it on. So that's why we can't do better than that. This is really a machlokes, pashtus totally in the kivega versus the taz. Okay. Now, one more point, and then we'll apply it to the ma'isa. We had the shayla more than once this Yom Tov, because again it's a 3-day Yom Tov, people a little b'chlal off track. But this is the interesting shayla. Someone set the timer, and everything was set great. The time is good. Sometimes you forget to change the timer. Everything was great, but one problem: the switch to the air conditioner was off. So the timer is going to go. But it's going to put on nothing. So you wanted to know that right now, it's off. The timer is off. Okay? It's off now. So he wants with his hand to move, with his elbow, he'll move the light switch from off to on. And that is doing nothing electronically. Nothing's happening because the timer is going. Sometimes if you set the timer to the wall and the air conditioning unit onto that, if it's off, then the timer doesn't go. But here, everything was as good as can be. The timer is going regardless. But it's not going to put it on at tomorrow 11 o'clock. So if he puts the switch on now, then tomorrow's going to go on. How would you classify that? Grama. What's the yesod of grama? So we saw from the Gemara. Every malacha is asa because of the ma'isa. Bishul is asa because of the ma'isa bishul, and havara is a havara. Watering grass is malacha d'oraisa, how it's watering. The only issue is, I'm not mechaven. I want to wash my hands this time. I don't want to water the grass. That's called a psigresh. Grum is fundamentally different. Grum is almost punkt fakert. Grum is, there's no ma'isa malacha. Putting a barrel of water is not a ma'isa malacha. But the kavan is the issa. You're mechaven, you're a smart aleck. You want to put the barrels down, tzadik mapol, I'm a nice guy. Yeah, but you want the, how watch my work. So who are you fooling? So malacha is asa as the ma'isa malacha. Then psigreisha is the nidin. Grum is punkt fakert, there's no ma'isa malacha. Putting a barrel of water on a ma'isa malacha. But the issa is als the outcome, the kavan. So our case is no ma'isa issa. Putting on a switch when it's off is no ma'isa issa. But later the air conditioner go on, that would be a grama. So there we have hilchas grama on Shabbos. The Ramah says you can make a makom hefsid, the akum, and then the hilchas yom tov is a machlokes. I'm not going to get into that now. But this is a perfect case of a grama because the ma'isa, there's no ma'isa issa taking place. And taka zicher will be mutter b'makom tzorich to call a goy to put the switch on. Because grama, someone make even makom hefsid, not a yisrael, but certainly the akum would be mutter. So we have hold with one more point, and then we have to apply some ma'isa. Try to keep to the time. And this is mamash, I think, the beauty of the sugya. So what do we have so far? Psikreisha is asa al the ma'isa. Grum is asa al the kavon. And we said Davshem Schaven is mutter, and psikreisha is sha'avar. That's what they call it. Is machlokes is taz and the kivei. Now I'm going to ask you one more question. Okay, let's say I like plants very much, and I'm very busy with my plants, and I want the sunshine to come in at the right time because mimega to a Shabbos, we're going to rain soon. So if I open a shade by day, and I kavana to let the sunshine come in, so that could I sort of treat the Shabbos malacha of zereya, because sunshine does much like watering. Okay, let's assume that's correct. Okay, fine. Let's say I very much know tomorrow's going to be a very sunny day, but the shade is closed. So I'm a chachamena. I go at night and I open the shade. So I say, what are you doing? I say, what do you mean? There's no sun now. And I open the shade at night, so tomorrow the sun will go onto the plants. What do you call that? Grum. Okay. Now, so we have two cases. We have opening the shade by day is malacha deraisa. In fact, that would be like a bit kedamaya. The sun is there, and I let the sun in. Fine. Now, let's say I'm not into plants at all. I open the shade at night because I want to have some air. It's very hot in the house. I open the shade, open the window to let the air in. Tomorrow, it happens to be the sun's going to shine onto my plants. Is it reasonable to say I can never open the shade even at night? Even though I'm not mechaven for the plants? Because tomorrow it's going to happen? Doesn't sound right. But why tak is that mutter? Can't say why is it mutter? Teretz is beautiful. It's pashu why it's mutter. There are one of two isurim involved in what we do. Psikresha is ma'isa issa. Grama is no ma'isa issa kavana. Guess what? This is none of the above. Opening a shade at night is no ma'isa issa. My kavana is not to water the plant, not to help the plant. It's to let in the air. If I open the shade at night because I want it to go tomorrow, that's grama. But here, there's no ma'isa issa. There's no kavana and there's no ma'isa. So you're taking two zeros and adding it up. And this is what two of the Gdoli HaPoskim, but them is Tzunzit Rishonim, the Avinez is in the Kuf Tzadik Aleph, a beautiful tshuva, and the Chalkas Yoav, also a beautiful Simon Yud Aleph. And this is what they call Psikresha B'Gram. Psikresha is a Malach Deraisa. Gram is Isla Rabbanan. When the two coincide, it's two zeros that don't add up. And they both say, listen to this. What?
Isn't it psikresha like a mischapen?
Correct, but what happened for what? I'm opening shade at night. What am I having for?
For the psikresha.
That's a Stephen A. Obey. If I open the shade by day, and I don't like the plants, that's a psikresha. But not at night. So they both say, that's the pshat in the Rashba. The Rashba, to remind you, said that when you close the door in your house, not to catch the deer, the Rashba holds this mutter. So they both are mechaber the same yesod. That the Rashba is going with the famous shita of the Rosh, that Seder is only malacha deraisa if you grab it. You're catching it. If you lock it into a room and it's confined, but you didn't grab it, that's halachic, the whole sukkos in Bava Kama, that would be considered a grama. Say that the rice, like the rush, is only when you grab the animal or whatever it is. But if you put it into a confined area, it's a grama because now it can't escape. Oy bazoi, the Rashba that's makka closing the door because your kavanah is to keep the cold air out is the precedent, is the makar psikresha b'grama. Because the ma'isa, when you close the door, you will not have to trap the deer. So there's no ma'isa issa, and it's also no kavanah. So the Rashba shita is very understandable, psikresha b'grama. The Ran, however, held, like most Rishonim, that say there's lav dafka trapping a biyadayim. Getting it into a confined area where it can escape is also not a ma'isa grama, but a ma'isa issa. Oy bazoi, there's no room for leniency, and that's why talking to Magen Avram, passing like Duran, that any type of tzeda is a malacha deraisa, so closing the door in any case would be us.
The window shade at night,
Yeah.
if he has in mind two things. Sunlight, which is a heter, and
So-
just to be light in the room, and also the plants.
So if you to have in mind that, so your kavanah,
But
I'm not reading your mind, you're telling me your mind, so that's a ma'isa, that's a kavanah.
Kavanah's here. One is the heter, the
I think it's
kavanah.
bullshit, that would be a problem. Okay, wait, there's still a big agenda, I want to try to keep to the time, so let's move on.
Right.
Let's start with a simple shaila, which is not too simple, unfortunately. Now, I'm talking about a specific model. Again, there are many of them. But Lamaisa, putting cold water into an urn on Yom Tiv, the chayr should be more mutter than Shabbos for the simple reason that Bishul on Shabbos is malacha deraisa. Bishul on Yom Tiv is mutter. So that's simple. But the issue here is that a urn, like every other appliance, almost every other appliance, works with a thermostat. Otherwise, the water would boil out. So it's very yitachin when you put in suddenly a gallon of cold water into this urn that the thermostat can't deal with that and puts on the heating element. So in other words, not theoretically, but in actuality, putting in a sudden induction of cold water will put on the heating element almost guaranteed. And that's like Ma'aver. On Yom Tiv, Havar is at least this Rabban on Ma'aver, and Moil Eish, Ram Mashita, at least this Rabban. So therefore, if you want to be safe, the right way to do it is wait till either you hear or see or both. Look inside if you want, or if you have it. Today everyone is different, but when you hear it koching, it's cooking. So once the heating element is on, so you're not putting on the heating element. The only thing is, you're cooking water, so Bishlan Yom Tiv is mutter.
It doesn't go on
Wait.
right away.
Wait, what's that? So there is a Yom Tiv mode. Again, I'm not talking about any, I'm not giving names obviously because each are different. I'm talking about one that I studied that has two features, makes Yom Tiv. Number one, which people, is the minor problem. When you put in cold water, so instead of boil light goes off because it's cold. And then instead of the serve light that's on, so now serve goes off. Now it goes on boil. So you're changing a light, which is a minor problem because it's at most LED. But the main problem, they didn't lacharad in itself, and that is the fact that you're putting cold water in and it's putting on the heating element. So they devised a system that doesn't happen right away. This is late reactions. Even when the thermostat senses there's something very cold going on, it doesn't go right away. So that is a grama in time. But some place can question that. But the mice, if that's the way it works, so back to our rush, that it's derech hamalacha bekach. So this is why some of them have, they work with a thermostat that goes based on time. So if nothing changes, your air doesn't change it. That's taka wonderful. I'm just telling you that I'm being ma'oira something that you have to make sure that what you have works perfectly. And basically, if you rely on that it's a delayed reaction, so you have a grama. Grama on Yom Tov is mutter, upon him b'makom soyrech. But what I think would be a better idea, that's what we do also at home, it's like a little batlan, is where we boil the water on a kettle and then we add it. So my honey the chacham takanasa, good kashem. You didn't make panas, I forgive them. Or, which is easier, you wait till you hear it boiling, and then you can add the water. Now, another beautiful shayla is opening a refrigerator b'chlal. Now, again, this is mamash our sugya, but let me just explain. Refrigerators today are, right away, the bell starts to ring because they are so complicated, they are so, technologically advanced, you don't know what you're doing anymore. You can open a door instantly and the fan goes on. So the klal is, the fancier the refrigerator is, the more you have to study it to make sure that you're not doing configurations every week of your life. Someone asked, like 2 years after he bought the refrigerator, he found out, is it true when you open the door on a certain fridge, the fan goes on? He said, you're telling me so. So, I didn't know that. He says, what do you want from me? For 2 years, he's opening the door and putting on the fan. Now, let's say a refrigerator open door and the fan goes on. What's that called? Configuration. So you have to, if you want to buy a simple refrigerator, then, just study it briefly. But the fancier it is, you should know it's suspect to who knows what. They have ice machines and they have defrost and they have sub-zero. It's just very complicated. But let's talk about the old-fashioned one, being very clear, that the only shayla is that when you open the door, you might put on the motor. Let me explain just 1 minute about how a refrigerator works. The refrigerator cannot go straight, because if it goes straight at 40 degrees, you keep on going, it's going to freeze. So like every other appliance, it has a thermostat. So the question is like this. When you hear the motor on, you hear a noise. That's one of the problems. They make refrigerators, doesn't make noise. But so you can hear the refrigerator is on, so why can you open the refrigerator? But the problem is maybe now it's off, and maybe when you open it, you're putting on the fridge. Or some even ask, let's say it is on now. But if I open the door, so I'm putting in hot air into the fridge, and it's going to burn longer. So why is that like moisif shemen shebener? So taka the chazinish, this is famous in Chazitz, we also discussed the Chelik Beis Tezayin. They taka do not use a regular refrigerator. Now, they use an icebox, not really. They had a refrigerator that had a timer. The Chazitz in fact says we have 24 pieces settings. You could set it to every half hour. Interesting. I'm sorry, every hour. So every hour on the hour you can set it. Now, I'm sorry, he says 96 in fact, 96 intervals. Okay, good. But that's not the minute. The question is why. So I'm going to ask you a funny question, but it's not a funny question. let's say you have a mischievous brother, son, grandchild, whatever it is, he likes to do it. His favorite fun is closing the light. Some kids have that, the Yitzhar. And he's going, he runs to the light, and he's about to close the light, and you grab him the last second, and you stop him, and you say very proudly, if not for me, the house would be dark a whole Shabbos. I saved the house, everybody's going to be a big yashikayach. So one of your admirers say, Bal Gaiva du bist. Why aren't you asa als gram havor? You said if not for me, the light would be off. So because of me, it's burning a whole Shabbos. Why is that gram havor? Sounds Narish, right? Tell me why it's not Narish. Oh, the Mechaba has a similar shayla. Wait. How is the shayla is like opening the window and the wind blows out the candle is awesome. If let's say the candle's burning, there's a big wind coming that's going to vadi blow out the candle. Can I slam the window shut so it doesn't blow out the candle? So Mechaba yet. So Mechaba made a point of making the sieve bays, Reish Ayin Zayin for my shayla. But why isn't it considered a gram havar? Teres is a toys in the side. Grama is I create a ma'isa issa by delay. Here, the candle is burning. I'm not adding shemen to the candle. It's burning. Navos, there's a stopper, my grandchild or my son, whatever it is, that likes closing the light. So I stopped the stopper. I didn't add shemen to the ner. I was mesa meineya. I stopped the stopper. Stopping the stopper is not a grama. What would be a grama? Maybe it might be a dayim, adding oil to the fire. Now, here's the question. When the refrigerator right now is working, for example, okay? The mice in the fridge will go forever. If you pay your bill forever. It goes forever. Navos, when there's a big accumulation of air, it sends a message to the thermostat, hey, it's getting cold, you could go off. When I open the door, it's like I'm taking out the cold air. I'm not adding shemen to the ner. I'm just stopping the stopper. The accumulation of cold air will send a message to the thermostat, let's go off. When I open the door and the cold air goes out, what happens? So I stop the stopper. I didn't add more fuel to the thermostat or to the motor. So that's why opening when it's on is not a problem. Opening when it's off could be more of an issue because you might put it on. So here we have at least, if not better, we have the taz of a sub-observational shav. How do you know? Do you know? You have Ruach HaKodesh to know when it goes on? Here probably no one could predict. It's not a suffix in the eichos of the pu'ula. Here it's a shayla you don't know that you don't know pashut, no one to figure it out. But wait a second. Reb Shlomo Zalman has a very strong tshuva, and he says, and he concludes at the end. This is Mechas Shlomo Siman Tes, that he feels that b'chlal opening a refrigerator even when it's off is mutter, and he writes ein nochon klal to lemnoyim misimchas Shabbos or whatever Onik Shabbos about opening a fridge. Now, what's his svara? So basically, one svara he says is that even if it's off, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's self-observation. But the second svara is, in the worst scenario, it's a psigration begram. Because you don't want to put the motor on because the food is doing fine without that.
So it's spoiled.
What?
You want it to stay cold. You want it to...
I understand, but it doesn't make a difference by this opening. So he calls it a psigration begram. Because a thermostat, you should know, never happens right away. That's in the tziyah. The thermostat as it expands, so it's a psigration begram. So that's why we tell the bacham, the minig, I think, but Torah certainly, Vadir, Moshe says it also, is to open it only when it's on. This is what you say. If a parent that's makel and opens when it's off, you can't say anything's wrong with it. Moshe, if Zalman says, Ein nochen klal limnoya, and if a parent asks a son, I need milk now, I have no time for your chumras, I would open it for my mother, because kibbut of is definitely something that overrides this chumrah. Although we're machma very much so. Now, avada also you have to understand that sometimes you could know that it won't go on right away because it just went off. So you have to play around a little bit if you know the metzias. But basically, this is mamish our sugya. But I think the point you have to realize is, never is it a shayla of being moisif shemen shepener. That's ridiculous. If it's going, it's going. you are basically stopping the stopper either to keep it on or to keep it on, or of course to close it.
Why is it why is it different than a delay by the urn? Delay by the urn was a grom of,
There you mechaven for it.
but it was a grom of his man.
There you mechaven for it, I'm telling you.
There wasn't a pashti grom.
I said, there you mechaven. Here you mechaven. Again, his question is, I want the refrigerator to be regulated, but it doesn't go right away. It's not nothing going to happen. You always have leeway. When you open the fridge, you have a mind that it should go on and stay cold. It's not. There's lichtish lemaisa. That case is not true. You want it to be cooked. Okay, let's move on. Now, lemaisa, I'll tell you another beautiful shayla. Someone had a timer. I'm talking about the old-fashioned timers. So young buck, hope you know what I'm talking about. With the green pin, remember? Red pin, still have it. Okay, good, fine. It's not necessary. Lemaisa, you set it 3 o'clock to go off, and it got very hot. So a lot of places can discuss as far as muktzah. Most places hold it's muktzah. Moshe holds repeatedly it's muktzah. But you're a fruma, you take it out with your teeth. So lemaisa, it's 2 o'clock now, the air conditioner is on. 3 o'clock, it's all over, you're going to schmaltz the whole afternoon. So you climb out of the chair and you pull out the red pin, and it burns until after Shabbos, another 8 extra hours. Whatever, 10 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is. Mutter asa. And how would you classify that once we avoided the muktzah issue? So, what do you mean? You told me yourself it burned another 5 hours because of your intervention. Why is that a grama? At least, Teretz is, this is like my anacle, the troublemaker. Be'emes, the air conditioner is going, Achiyav Elio. Go straight. Please stop paying your bill, go straight, right? Navas, there's a red pin that's called the stopper. The red pin is like the mischievous child, or the wind that's coming down that's going to blow out the candle, and you are not slamming a window, you're taking it out. But you're not making it burn long, you're not giving more shemen, you're being mesa mainea. This mainea is going to put it off, and I'm taking out the mainea. So no one can say this would be awesome. Whether it's keeping it on or keeping it off, the issue is muktzah. But Moshe does say, if you adjust the pin from 3 to 5, however you do that, I don't know how you do it with your mouth, you have to slide it across, but whatever, let Louis to be shaykh, then the 5 o'clock havara may be your grum. Because you put in a new pin at 5 o'clock. The fact that it was going to go on at 3, you don't have to go off at 3, is not a migui. If you have a migui, I have one right to change.
Put a second pin while the other
Again, I know this stuff, but that's for you people. The Moshe held keeping its status quo is always mutter. Besides muktzah. Moshe is very busy with muktzah and every Jew that he speaks about. But this is a beautiful example of a case of mesa mainea, which is not a psigresha, which is not a grama, it's a maisa. I hope you have a lot of this, so I'll keep the time. So this would be lemaisa, why timers, brother, and echanami. The akum, even adjustment, a real adjustment is mutter, because only a grama, the akum would be mutter. Now lemaisa, another point that I wanted to mention, when talking about these type of shilas, is a water cooler. Now, let me explain a little bit. A water cooler, a water fountain, what they call it, which cools the water, because you want to have cold geschmack of water. So, you have to know in all these shilas, with the Chazon Ish writes in a letter that a toyis in Metzias is worse than a toyis in halacha. Because if you don't know the Metzias, so you could be doing multiple isurim without knowing. And I learned this a lot of times, but here I'll tell you this specifically. The regular old-fashioned water coolers is basically the same idea like a refrigerator. There's a small tank that cools the water. Okay, it works with the thermostat, and sometimes, in fact, when you take out water, you can hear it like it shoots on, whatever the word is. So it's basically like a small refrigerator. It's rather smaller, and of course, when you take out cold water, so new water, room temperature water, takes its place, and if it's overwhelming, it puts on the cooling system. So that, if you take out a small amount of water, that you could assume is a suffix sigresha, which is really a double shade of mitzvah. Now, depending on how much water you have, taking out 8 ounces out of 32, it's probable you're going to put on the cooling system, so that will be a sigresha. But lo yitzor, you take out a little bit of water, l'chayr should be a crowd. But here's the interesting thing. I give a share from 2 different yeshivas, and both of them have this new buildings. Both have this new mitzias. That if you would pull out the plug of an old-fashioned water cooler, it would work. The water would work, right? Navas, it wouldn't be cold. In the 2 buildings, new yeshivas, which I think all new buildings have now, You pull out the plug, it doesn't even give out water. Why? Because everything has to be, handicap friendly, and you can't just put on a switch. You have to build just a load, like a rod that you push in and puts it on. Bekitza, the whole thing, every time you use water in these new water coolers, you're activating electrical current that gives out the water. But Raya, if you pull out the plug, it doesn't go. So here we're not talking about the cooling of the water that's the problem. Every time you use the water, you're activating a pump. It's like people that have a pump in the basement, and again, I'm not saying who, but some people have it every time you flush, you put on a pump. So you're not talking about a suffix, it's a vada. So again, go with your eyes open, know your metzias, and know it well. But if it's just a question of a regular cooler that cools the water when needed, taking out a small amount is probably to reduce it to an Eina Meschaven, and Eina Meschaven is mutter. Now, using an oven, today again, people are very into using ovens, and it should be addressed. So oven has a little more of a problem than a refrigerator for two good reasons. First of all, an oven, you set it for 250, some people set it for 350. What's room temperature? 70 degrees. So the contrast of 70 to 250, 350 is overwhelming. But a refrigerator, room temperature is 70. What is a refrigerator typically set on? 40 degrees. Right? So it's less of situation in a fridge than an oven. But more halachic, a refrigerator, like most paiskim, which doesn't have a heating element, is the Rabbanan. An oven that has a heating element and you're putting on the oven could be malacha deraisa. So it's a suffix deraisa. So again, I think it's a beautiful answer to the question. The Shmir Shabbos, who is typically not a big machmir, in Perek Aleph Simulam and Hey, he says, also to open any oven on Shabbos or Yom Tiv, because you're going to put on the heating element. Okay? So, Rav Shimon Aida, and I saw the original Shaila to Rav Moshe, it's printed in the Yigas Moshe, but if you want to see in his Sefer, he has the exact Shaila. He tells Rav Moshe, I opened it 8 times, and it didn't go on, the oven didn't go on. Moshe said, okay, so it's not obsiguration, so it's mutter. Is it a machlokes? Not necessarily. Depends how sensitive your oven is. Like, one says, the Rebbe said Marinato. Oh, the Rebbe said Vashavruach. Avada. This is winter, this is summer, right? So you have different ovens and different hypersensitive thermostats. That's what it's telling you. So how do I know? So I'll tell you what, when you have time during the week, don't get in your wife's way, but go down to open the oven, close it, and see how quick the oven goes on. Now on the bottom, typically there's a fire. If it's off now, open it once and close it. Second time, close it. Third time, see, trial and error.
How long is it growing?
Not right, close to right away is already a nice diet.
How long is it growing?
I'm telling you, close to right away is a nice diet. Anything less than that is a grown. But it's illogical to say it's also always a mutter. How could that be? It has to happen on Metzias. Today there are very sensitive ovens. But the point that I would mention is that you have to be careful because you talk about a suffix deraisa mitzad echad, and also the fact that the contrast in temperature is more nicer to make it close to obsiguration. Now, avada, if the oven was on and just went off, and you open it, so it's not as sensitive because it's usually in a higher head temperature. But I'm being evasive for a reason because I know what I'm talking about. You can't give klolim. Any oven from A to B is good, and then from B to what do you tell your names?
This is not the Shabbos mode.
Yeah, right. Now, wait, hold. Now, the next question is, like I told you earlier, in heating or air conditioning. So the emphasis is we can't be oblivious to the simple facts that in every home that there's air conditioning or heating that goes with a thermostat, which is almost, is across the board, your action, there is a reaction. There's something that's happening, no doubt about it. But the good news is that almost always, if not always, it's always a situation begrom at most. It doesn't happen right away, you're not machavin. So we can't even, have a shaila here. This is not even a question because besides davar she'ein machavin, which it certainly is, it's also obsiguration begrom. Rabbi Yashiv, the Roch, had another svara, and he said that even the yisoidis that were machmir, when you're touching the system, you're touching the switch, you're touching the eish atzmai. Here you're opening the door to your house. The door to your house and the thermostat is Svei Velten. We never find a linking between those two things. So Lamaisa, that's why there's no doubt about it. We're allowed to come to the house. It's a Davashem Ishavan, a Psigration Begrama. Now, of course, needless to mention, the climate control is a Psigration. That's a switch. Now, if it takes a little longer, it's also an asa, because that's the way you put it on. That l'chayr is dvar pshutim. Now, we had a shaila once, and I once witnessed this, it's interesting, during the winter, in every yeshiva, there's always one bach, he's a schwitzer, he's always hot. So he opened the window on Shabbos. And fellas were cold, said, please close it. No, I'm hot. Okay. So one fella, smart guy, said, hey, what, you gotta close the window because it's, you're putting on the heat. So hopefully, if he doesn't respond to Haftar Moich, at least to Isurim. So the emphasis, the bracha that's cold was wrong. Because the shvitza is punkt verkehrt. He does not want the heat. So he's not a groma, and he's not a psigration. So I would tell him, is more important than everything, and stop doing it. But that would be a case where it's mutter. You're allowed to open the window during the winter. Now, where it would be a groma is, let's say it's very cold in the house. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, it's very cold in the house. There's for some reason the steam went down, it's set on 65, you have kids in the house, you have adults in the house, you have elder people. So then if there's no guy available, what you could do is open the window, the closest window to the thermostat, and your kavanah is the heat should go on soon. So that would be a regular grama b'makom hefsid. Now granted, when children in the house, even putting on this, you have a guy do it is okay, but there's no guy available. So that would be using a grama situation to be makel b'makom tzoyrich of brius. But that's again an exceptional case. Another point, which is really need a share for itself, but I think at least we should mention it, is what motion detectors. Now, there's one type of motion detector that basically, let's say the surveillance cameras. That's an easier shaila because it's constantly going. So the fact that it picks me up instead of the pavement is not enough to be asa. I'm talking about you walking in the street and you put on a light. I can tell you exactly who has motion detector in my way from Yeshiva. Lamaisa, you're putting on a light. Rav Vaz Zechaynu Levracha, in the Tshuva, in Chelik Tesim, in Samach the Cheshev Eifoy, the Padova, and Simon Pei Gimel of the Tshuvas, they both take a similar approach. And this is mamish the dessert of today's sugya, because they took every word of the sugya and put it lamaisa. And basically, when you walk into the stream, however you put the light on, it's a psigration. When you walk down this fellow's house, you put the light on. But Rav Vaza takes a very interesting approach, and he says that the Yisoid of Melecha Shabbos is Melechas Machshavas. And everybody's busy with the word Machshavas. Psigration, some psigration, blah, 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 blah. But the olive point, you have to have a Ma'aseh Melacha. Without a Ma'aseh Melacha, there's no Melecha Shabbos. And when a person's Hoylach Kedarkoi and does nothing but nothing to do a Melacha, we can't call that a Melacha. You're doing a Ma'aseh Heta. He calls it a Ma'aseh Heta moving. You're walking home from shul. But you're walking to shul. It's a Dar Mitzvah. Ma'aseh Issa, where's Ma'aseh Issa? And he brings a raya, Rabbi said, from the Rashba. The Rashba, in Ha'oireg, the end of Ha'oireg, says you're allowed to close the door when the deer's in the house because you're not mechabim. So if there was, what's shot in the Rashba? Obviously, closing the door to your house, the Ma'aseh Heta moving. So you can't construct the Ma'aseh Issa from Ma'aseh Heta. Now, Ma'aseh Issa he wants to say, Ein Oysa Klum Mamish, L'hoylach Kedarkoi, that's not a mechsarn in Machsheves, it's a mechsarn in Melechas. Now, Lamaisa, most places are machmir. Even Rav Ozdin in later tshuvas is a little more machmir. And the main taina is that, first of all, you can't bring a raya from the Rashba because the Ran argues. But more than that, Lamaisa, the Havana here is we could prove not correct. Because Machabas is a Shin Lamed Vav, a person who's barefoot is not allowed to walk in high grass. When it's a psigration, they then tear out the grass. He's not mechab to tear out the grass, but a person has to be realistic and has to know the mitzvahs. Walking with high grass is a psigration. So Lamaisa, Rav Vozna holds that hoylach kedarka is a het atzmi, but it's based on that yisoid that if there's no malacha, it can't be us. And last but not least, we had this also over Yom Tov. Someone had a smoke alarm that started ringing, and it was very annoying. So he wanted to know if he allowed to take a shmata, a towel, and fan it, and it goes off. So here, you have to really, yesh lachka is the wrong word, but that's what you have to do really. Why does it work when you fan a smoke alarm, it goes off? So either the pshat is that the smoke the constant presence of smoke keeps it ringing, or the induction of clean air, iodized air doesn't ring. It only rings when it has dirty air. The truth is, even in a construction place where they're working, there's no smoke. It starts to ring because it has to have clean air. If the pshat is that the smoke is keeping it ringing, so by fanning away the smoke, you're stopping the stopper. This is keeping it going, so I'm taking it away. It's like shemen rolling down the hill, but not near my fire, and I take the shemen and I stop it. Is that kibui? Why? It didn't get to the fire yet. If we understand that smoke is what keeps it ringing, so if I fan away all this smoke, I just stop the stopper to keeping it going. I didn't put it out. It just had nothing to go. It's like the oil running down the mountain. But the Metzias, a mumcha told me that's not the case. Lamaisa, you have to have air. Clean air is when it doesn't ring. So when you fan it, you're getting rid of the smoke, but you're also giving it clean air, and that's actually like shooting a water gun or an air gun and blowing out a candle. Here, you're blowing the air that's going to put it out. So it's not just a gram kibui, it's a kibui mamish, and that would be us at the Yom Tov.
Only if he's standing under the smoke effect. If you do it if he's far away from it, then he's blocking the stopper again. So if he's standing far from it, then he could do it. But then he's blocking the movement.
Die ganze Hölle, like to give a big Ashikoyach to Rabbi Smishli, the gewaltige Shia and the Oilig Yom Tov. Today's Shia was sponsored by Rabbi and Wolf and his father, Shmuel Rume. If anybody wants copies of the Shia, it's going to be after, soon, it's going to be soon. You need a flashlight.
My nephew, Mr. Weggewonnen.